In today's Everyday AI video, I want to show you a little experiment that I ran earlier in the week. And I also wanted to use it to demonstrate something that I feel extraordinarily strong about, which is keeping the human in the loop. Now, you may have heard that. That's actually a term that's used around AI circles quite frequently. But what does it actually mean? Well, it means that we don't delegate and abandon. We don't defer to its better judgment. You know, AI is pretty smart. It does what it says on the box. It's artificial intelligence. And I know that my own journey with AI, there was a point in time where I almost had imposter syndrome going, well, who am I to second guess artificial intelligence? It's intelligent. But I have done so much reading on this and now have worked with AI so much that I truly, truly, truly believe that it's very important to keep that human in the loop. You know, AI is no substitute. It's no match for our discernment because we have a lot more context than it has with the prompts that we give them, with the input that we give them. Let me demonstrate this. Every year, one of my favorite projects is I am asked to be a judge for Consult Australia. They're the peak body for consulting engineers. And this year I've got 4 categories, and the largest one by far is the Emerging Leader Program. Something I'm very passionate about, having done leadership programs for years. I'm also a facilitator in their Emerging Leaders Program and a mentor for the project for that program. So I do a lot with this organization, and I do a lot with emerging leaders. So this is one of the pinnacle projects of my career. Now, every year it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher to make these determinations, to evaluate their submissions. And this year it was by far the most tough. We had a lot of submissions, and I didn't even get to see all of them because I only got to see a subset of the best ones. They were culled before I got to see them. And we read the submissions, and then we, just today, I just hung up the phone, which is why I'm looking a little bit frazzled probably, just hung up on the Teams call from our interviews where we interviewed all these candidates. But I went into these interviews already having graded the submissions. What I did is what I always do. I read the criteria for the submission for the award category, which Consult Australia puts out, and then I read the submissions. Now, I limited myself to only do 3 a day so that I didn't get them mixed up. I wrote my comments and I scored them. Now, this was my own scoring system. I didn't actually use the scoring system that was provided to me because I'm me, and I wanted to use something that was more representative of how I felt, but then I'll translate that when I put it into the portal before the final decisions are made. So I did that. And then I thought, I wonder, just as an experiment, what ChatGPT would do. So what I did is I went to ChatGPT and I copied over the criteria that Consult Australia had given me for this Emerging Leader Program. And then it came up with, and it took about, because I put it on thinking mode, if you can see, so I really wanted it to think about this process. So it took, a minute to come up with a rubric for how to score them. And I said that my scoring system was below average, average, above average, way above average, and way, way above average. Just, again, because that's me. So it applied the rubric that it came up to based on the criteria that Consult Australia had given, and it came up with the rubric of the definitions of what each of these actually meant. So I looked at this, and now I could have edited it, but I agreed with everything that it was doing. So I agreed with its approach, and I went, fantastic. Okay, so this is the final rating. And then I said, fantastic. It calibrated the first 3 entries, and then it rechecked them. Then I looked at it. So I went back and forth, and I said, yes, I think that the way that you're approaching this is good. So that's fine. So then I gave it the final table, the final spreadsheet. I uploaded the spreadsheet with none of my comments or my scoring, but with their submission. So I copied and pasted from the portal that they put it in into a spreadsheet. So I uploaded that and I said, great, now grade that. And it did, and it came up with something that looked like this. Now I've taken the names out so that they're not recognizable. There are 4 categories: professional contribution, leadership capability, innovation, problem solving, and commitment to professional growth. And these are the scores that it gave these candidates for each of those 4 categories, and then it added it together and it gave me some notes, some very brief notes. I will go back and ask it to expand these notes in a minute, but I wanted to compare and contrast. So then I put in my scores. Now you can see that a lot of them are very, very similar. And again, we're human beings. We have subjective judgment. So in reading the submissions, I may know that a project that one of the candidates is talking about is a very large, very complex project. So I may rate them a little bit heavier on that project. I may rate them a little bit better than ChatGPT, knowing nothing about that context. So my subjectiveness went into my grading, as it always does. But I was really interested to see, with just a non-contextual, non-discernment, purely non-emotional, purely intellectual exercise, how ChatGPT would align and differ. You can see that a lot of them were aligned. I said, 1, 2, maybe even 3 points. That's not bad. That's not a bad spread, especially if I'm out of alignment. So I looked at these, and there were only a few of them. One, as you can see, 16 to my 12. And there's another one here that is quite different. 17 to my 11. The rest are pretty similar. So I looked at those 2 aberrations and I went, where was it seeing something that I wasn't, or where was I seeing something that it wasn't? And I went with my own. I read it again, read the entire submission again, and I decided that I was going to back myself. I went with my own judgment on that, because potentially I did know something about the project, or I knew the candidate. Now that's a little bit unfair because I didn't know all of the candidates. But isn't it interesting that it came up with a lot of the same suggestions, a lot of the same markings that I did? The point that I want to make here, though, is that I could have easily said, since they are so similar in most instances, I'm going to go with ChatGPT's recommendation. I'm going to go with ChatGPT's scoring. But I read the notes that ChatGPT had, and again, I read the submissions where we were far apart, and I decided, no, I'm going to back myself. This is what it means by keeping humans in the loop. And this is how we need to teach our teams to work with AI. Yes, AI can be tremendously powerful. Now, I can almost hear you saying, but wait a minute, it's supposed to save you time. This just added to your time because you did a dual process. You did it manually, and then you put it through AI, and then you reconciled it. Yes, I did. But this did 2 things. Number one, because if you've ever been a judge or interviewed candidates, you know that your own emotional state, your own state of fatigue, the time of day, where you are, that can all play a role into how you're judging things. This is the advantage with ChatGPT. It never gets tired. It never has a bad day. And when I say ChatGPT, I mean any LLM, of course. So the point here is that I can now have confidence that it's fairly close to my manual judging. Does that mean that I'm going to abrogate my responsibilities and have ChatGPT judge my award submissions in the future? No, absolutely not. But I might work with it as more of an assistant to help me do it faster. I'm going to be playing with this a little bit more to see how I can actually produce a workflow for some of these things that works. The other thing, so it serves 2 purposes. Number one, it gives me the confidence that I can rely on it in projects like this. But number 2, it also reinforces my own judgment. So it added a check. And when I'm doing something like an Emerging Leaders Program Awards, I really want to make sure that I put in my best effort so that I am not either um, awarding somebody or detracting from somebody based on some things that shouldn't actually go into the equation. So I hope you find this helpful. I'm going to be doing more of these workflow videos and more of these demonstrations to demonstrate some key concepts that I think are incredibly important. So, jump into the comments and let me know what you think about these types of demos and how you've used it. Have you used ChatGPT to do something like this in the past, or Copilot or Claude or Manus or whatever your favorite LLM is? Thanks.